We've all heard the phrase, judge not, lest you be judged. But what does that mean for Christians today? Are Christians forbidden from making moral judgments? Or is there a way to discern what's right and wrong without crossing a line? In this video, we'll look at what the Bible actually says about judgment and how that affects our daily lives. Now, before we get into what the Bible says, let's first step back and define what moral judgment actually means. Now, moral judgments are commonly understood as the evaluations of actions, intentions, or character as either right or wrong based on a set of moral principles. So in effect, what this means is, do Christians have the right to call out what is right and what is wrong? Now with that context, let's look at some arguments from people that say that Christians do not have the right to judge. And traditionally, this is going to come from Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 2. And to explain this, I'm going to use the New Revised Standard Version, which reads, "Do not judge, so you may not be judged. For the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get." In essence, what this means is that if someone is going to give out judgments to other people, they also need to recognize that the same judgments they're giving are also judgments that will be applied to them. So it pretty much says, do not be a hypocrite, because the same standard you use to judge others are the same standards that other people can use to judge you. However, after reading this verse and digging into the context, this is not a cosign of the idea that Christians do not have the right to judge. Rather, it's a cosign that when Christians judge, they need to be careful and critical of their own actions. But that's way different than saying that they don't have the right to judge. To add on to this point, if we look at earlier rabbinic sources like the Babylonian Talmud, which is a collection of Jewish teachings, we actually see rabbis teaching that he who judges another favorably is himself also judged favorably. And this is going to be found in Shabbat 127b in the Babylonian Talmud. Additionally, within the Gospel of John, we see John say, "Do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment," which goes to show that there is a way for Christians to make moral judgments without crossing a line. As well, imagine if Christians were not allowed to make moral judgments. The harm here would be that how would we come to know if someone is sinning, right? I mean, if we did not have the ability to make a judgment and say, hey, here's God's law, and then to look at another person and say, your actions are not acting in accordance with his law, therefore you're sinning, then we would have no grounds by which to say that someone is doing something wrong. And also we'd have no grounds by which to say that something is wrong in the first place, since we wouldn't be able to make a discernment or make a judgment otherwise. Therefore, it might be the case that when people say that Christians do not have the ability to judge, it may actually be harmful to not only Christians, but the people that they're interacting with at large, because it can stop truths from being brought to light, and it can justify harmful and horrific behavior. Therefore, that's why I believe when we look at the context of the Bible, along with logic and reason, we can come to the conclusion that yes, Christians do have the ability to judge, as long as they judge righteously. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and like and subscribe for more.